All right. And after country comes the people that make everything possible. Let us please give our gratitude, as always, to
Always to
all of the
all of the
members
members
of ABCD,
BCD,
our special
our special
patrons,
participants,
corporate members and
corporate members
partners,
and
and our
partners, and our
Julius, nag-echo
Julius
ka.
There's an
yeah,
echo.
that yeah, there's a share sound on the side of no on the side of Yan, but if she's not sharing, it's okay. All right. So once again, good morning to everyone, and I'm glad to see everyone this morning. If you're joining us 2 weeks later through our social media, welcome. Do consider giving us a like and subscribe. ABCD, Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation, is a nonprofit organization in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines. We're only here through the generosity of our members. If you do like what you see, you like our content, and you would like to engage with our wide network of agribusiness and countryside development professionals and organizations, do consider becoming a member. Send us an email and introduce yourself at register@map-abcd.org. All right, so normally it's our president, Ernie Ordonez, who will be introducing our speaker, but he did give me a heads up that he might not be able to make it this morning as he is on travel. So I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker this morning. So today our topic is actually quite an interesting one: advocacy for cotton farming and Inabel fabrics. So this is actually something that I've gotten some experience with. Well, not personally growing cotton, but Philfida actually approached me several years ago with possible, concerns about, is it possible for us to grow cotton? Is it possible for us to produce cotton seeds in the country? And I think we have an excellent speaker this morning. So thanks very much to Bernie App for bringing on board Dr. Joven Kwanang. Dr. Kwanang is a neurologist. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joven. All right. So a neurologist in the Philippines, and president and founder of Pinto Art Museum. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Pinto or Pinto Art Museum? All right. And a philanthropist. So obviously, as a neurologist in the Philippines, I'm sure you were one of the first in the country, and he is here today to actually talk to us about cotton farming that's currently happening in Pinili, Ilocos Norte, as well as the production of Inabel fabrics made of pure cotton and dipped in organic dyes. I'm sure that's something that will spark the interest of many of our members. And it seems that you are working together with Algodon, 100% cotton creations by Filipino fashion designers. So I think Philippine talent is something that's becoming more and more recognized internationally. We've broken through to many artisan markets for chocolate, for coffee, and maybe perhaps cotton might be the next big thing to come out of the Philippines. But in any case, that's for Joven to talk to us about this morning. So may I please invite everyone to join me in welcoming Dr. Joven Kwana, philanthropist, neurologist, and founder of Pinto Art Museum, to talk to us this morning. Joven, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your introduction. Just disclosures, no, and I am not into agribusiness. No, I'm in the practice of neurology, and I happen to get interested in helping out artists. So I founded the Pinto Art Museum. But what I want to let you know is uh, this this my engagement with cotton farming is almost like an accident. No, and let me tell you the story. I have the first slide, please.
Can you try to see?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, Joven,
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Carlo, can I have the first slide, please?
Oven, what we see is the title and your name.
Yes, we have the title. Now, the next one, please.
Pinili.
Nasaan? Hindi lumalabas.
Ayan.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
There it is.
Yeah, okay. Let me just tell you about my narrative related to my engagement with cotton farming. And my inspiration was this old lady whom I met about 6 years ago. Her name is Magdalena Gamayo. She was honored to be one of the national treasures of the Philippines, declared by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. She lives in Pinili, Ilocos Norte. And I understood that she was weaving Inabel since she was a teenager. At the time that I met her, she was close to 90 years old, living in the village called Lumbaan, Barangay Pikpikan in Pinili, Ilocos Norte. My story starts when I saw a fabric shown to me by Amy Marcos, our governor at that time in Ilocos Norte. And I found out that her fabrics were different from the ones that I grew up with. I'm from Ilocos, and so our household was usually with towels from Inabel. We had blankets of Inabel. Everything was Inabel, no. And in fact, I brought them with me when I came to Manila to study because they were just comfort. They give me a lot of comfort. But this time when I saw Amy's examples of a fabric, they were of a different design and the colors were very more vibrant. So I got very interested. So my cousin who lives near her, no, knew pala itong lady. So I asked her, okay, can you take me there? No. So she took me there to Pinili, and I found this old lady who was working with 3 equally elderly ladies, no, doing Inabel, and they were supporting their family with this meager weaving that they have. You know. So I said, what are the materials that you use? You know? Knowing that in my childhood, it was pure cotton, I was aghast at finding out that the fabrics that they were using were a combination of cotton and polyester. And knowing the implications of this in terms of what we want to do, and the new consciousness of being organic. So I said, no, polyester is not good combination. And so I said, well, why is this? No, what happened to cotton? No, I found out later that cotton has not been produced in that particular town, in that particular village, for the last 20 years. No, and so I sought the farmers in that particular area, and indeed they told me that yes, they stopped cotton farming in favor of tobacco. No, and to me as a doctor who is campaigning against smoking, no, because I am into neurology, and one of the most important causes of death in the Philippines is stroke. and this is certainly one of the predisposing factors for stroke. I said, well, why don't you consider an intersperse of cotton together with tobacco? And I said, no, we lack water. And I said, water? Why, what happened? No? And they said, well, the wells went dry. And I think this was due to the fact that the forests nearby were denuded because they were using the wood to fire out the curing of the tobacco that they were using. No? So it went dry. But they said, well, there's a small area which we know has water. And I said, so if you have water, do you think that you will want to go ahead and plant cotton again? And they said, yes. No. So I said, what do they need? What do you need? And they told me, well, a well pump will do. So I bought them a well pump at 30,000, and with the promise that they would go ahead and start planting cotton again, no? And which they promised they would do. No? The next problem that I have was, okay, nawalahan na sila ng seeds. No? They don't have seeds anymore, no? Because this has been like 20 years from the last time that they planted cotton. So I thought about, okay, where will I get the seed? That I remembered that in Batak, where I come from, there is a cotton research center, which was put up by the then President Ferdinand Marcos, no, in front of the Mariano Marcos State University. Irene Marcos is my neighbor in Corimao, where we both have a beach property. And so I said, Irene, come on, let's go to your father's old development, because I'm looking for cotton seeds. And we did go there. And then lo and behold, the cotton seeds were being kept by the Philippine Fiber Development Authority. And the guy who was there is a scientist, and she kept these seeds, no, for a long time. And they had a very small experimental farm. And so I said, Ed Renen, who was then the head of Philfida, I said, hey, Ed, do you think you can provide the farmers with cotton seeds? And can you help them and retrain them in terms of planting them again? And she said, yes, great. I like to do that. No. So we went back to Corimao, to Pinili. And so we were able to get a few of the farmers to go ahead and plant on a 2-hectare property, which they owned. And we then went ahead and provided them with seeds. And yes, the seeds were resistant to insects, no? And so the yield would be better. That was the scientific study of Edwin. So they started planting into this 2 hectare of land. And next, please, next slide. Can I have the next slide, please? And with the water coming from the pump, no, they were able to go ahead and start planting cotton again. No, a few months later, no, next slide, we had the harvest. No, and this is the cotton farm that we were able to generate in a 2 hectare property of the farmers in Pinili. So then the question was, okay, they gathered the cotton, you know, fluffy, beautiful cotton, and they were able to gather almost 2 tons of cotton, cotton. And then the problem was, okay, the farmers looked at me, and I knew that the next question was, what will they do with the cotton? And so I said, well, they were cash strapped. So I said, well, they were looking at me, and so where will we sell them? And so I said, well, I took a good deep breath and I said, okay, I'll buy all of them. I'll buy all of them and start the project going on. So the next thing that happened was, okay, how do you convert this cotton into threads? No? So the old way was they were spun like what the iconic picture of Mahatma Gandhi was. Remember, he was spinning cotton, no? As part of his iconic figure during his campaign against colonization, against Britain. And so I said, well, that's going to be a little too slow. But I learned later on from Philfida that the Philippine PTRI, the Philippine Technological Research Institute, based in Taguig, they have a facility for processing cotton into fibers. No? But that was like 400 kilometers away from the cotton farm. No? So I said, okay, I took a deep breath again, and I said, okay, I'll send all of these 2 tons of cotton to PTRI and go ahead and do them into fibers. So we lost a lot of cotton because of the transportation and issues. No? And again, they had this facility for fiber processing. And we finally had a lot of cotton in threads and spools that they delivered to me, in our town in Corimao. Next slide, please. Now, this is the cotton. Next. Okay, so looking back, I understand that this was the graph presented to me by the PTRI people, and it speaks about how cotton farming stagnated for many years, and historically, cotton was a very important product in Ilocos. No? Aside from providing clothing materials for everyone locally. I understood that this actually, the Inabel from the cotton that we had was actually used by the galleons as sails because they were very sturdy. And, so the cotton was not only found in Ilocos, but in fact, it was cultivated in most of the islands in the Philippines. No? So there's a town in Tarlac called Capas. No? So Capas is the Ilocano for cotton. And we realized that Bulacan is actually Bulak, because they were actually farming a lot of, and this was a very important product that was part of our exports in the galleon trade during that particular period of time. So I said, well, if this was a very important product, then this must be something that should be cultivated again. And let's see if we will be able to go ahead and make this profitable. Because I'm a doctor and I'm very conscious about the determinants for health. The area in Pinili, when I found out, was almost destitute. And I was worried because the children were not going into education. And most of the people there were, they were lacking in nutrition, I thought. So this would help them improve their health and at the same time provide them with money for their education. So then I went ahead and continued this particular project. Fortunately, the Magdalena Gamayo was provided with a stipend from the National Commission for Culture and the Arts to start a weaving program. And together with the abundance of cotton, the 2 tons of cotton now converted into threads, we were able to increase the number of weavers from 3 to about near 20. And from the old people, no, there were now teenagers, no, who wanted to learn how to weave. And in fact, there was a boy who was interested in weaving. No? So I said, okay, that seems like a very good start. No? Next slide, please. So this was the production line. We had the produce from the farmer. We did the ginning and the spinning. So the other problem was, okay, we'll just have to go ahead and give color to the fibers. No? And since my ethos was related to making sure that everything was organic, no, and I said, well, okay, I studied how these colorations were done organically. I had a friend who lives in Nicaragua, and I understand that the old women were doing their fabric with the organic dye. So I said, well, if this was done there, and therefore it must have been done in Ilocos also, no? So I found the problem then, therefore, was nobody was into dyeing with organic dye. So I said, I got in touch with the Mariano Marcos State University, and there was a researcher, Loreli Manzano is a young researcher who, by the way, was the one who extracted alcohol from a product, a product there. And the alcohol was utilized and distributed to the people in Ilocos during the pandemic. So I asked her and I said, yeah, I don't know how to do it. And I said, now you are a researcher, so you should be able to study this a little bit more. Next slide, please. By the way, let me just say this. Hanilet Avancenia, the partner of our previous president, Rodrigo Duterte, knew about this little project that I was doing in Pinili. And, I was close to the family because I was taking care of the health of one of the doctors of Duterte. And I said, Doc, can you take me to Pinili? I like what you're doing there, small farming. And he said, okay, I will take you there. So we went by private helicopter and we descended into the rice fields. And she went ahead and talked to the old woman and the farmers and so on and so forth, and continued to go ahead and inspire the people to go ahead and continue what I was doing. So the president said, okay, I want to meet the old lady. So we brought her to the palace, and PRD asked me, Doc, what do you need? And I said, well, we're just doing pumping water, and so I need a irrigation system that's going to be solar powered. And he said, "Oh, okay, I can ask National Irrigation Authority to go ahead and put up solar-based irrigation system there for 30 million." So, at that particular point, I thought, wow, this president, sabi niya sa akin, ang daming corruption that is going on, and this 30 million is just a small amount of money for a project that is very worthwhile. So we were able to get the solar powered irrigation now from the pump that I had. We had the 30 million solar irrigation project in Pinili, ready to be able to service about 50 hectares of land. So there, So all the local officials started to be very enthusiastic. And in fact, the other towns were now asking if they could also start their cotton farming. Nearby Bana, near Pinili, and Nueva Era expressed their intention to go ahead and convert some of their farms into cotton farming. So that's the story. And we did ahead, and then the farmers are now planting a little bit more. This is already their second crop, third crop. this year. They have the third crop already. So let's go back to the coloring. No? Next, please. Now, these are the fibers. These are the cotton fibers derived from those cotton bulbs that we had. Next, please. There, and next. And so the coloring started with Lorelei of the researcher in MMSU. And let's go to the next slides. So we went ahead, Lorelei and myself, we read books and then went ahead to look and try to discover the presence of origin of dyes, natural dyes from our trees that are located locally. This one comes from mahogany bark. No, next. It's beautiful color. Next, please. This one is from sapang. Sapang is a small shrub that grows near Poway Lake. And it turned out that, they told me that they had used this particular color to recolor some of the clothes that they were having. And look at this color derived from sapang. No? So I already asked the people there in that particular village where sapang is located to plant some more for us to be able to have a source of this particular dye. No? Next, please. Now, these are talisay. Talisay leaves is present all over the country. And look at the color that comes out from the talisay leaves. No? Next, please. Next. And this from anato, no? And this is from tayum, no? Now, tayum comes out with this indigo color. The indigo color was very much in demand in Europe at that particular time. I understood from reviewing the uses of tayum. It produces a very distinctive indigo color, which was much preferred by people who were weaving at that particular time. Unfortunately, tayum was no longer was already not planted. And we found a few in the wayside after talking to some of the villagers. And I learned later on that there's a place in Abra which still cultivates tayum, and the name and actually the name of the barrio was Tayum, no? So it's tayum, no? And I said, okay, then there's the place where we will be able to get tayum. And we found an old man who was still doing tayum dyeing in that particular area, no? And he actually developed a certain kind of small scale business in his household by doing dyeing with indigo for the hobby. The Hobby Foundation is the one which is in charge of fiber development in the whole Philippines. No? And I was in touch with Maribel Ongpin, who was involved very much into hobby, and a dear friend of mine. And she went ahead and tayum. By the way, tayum was apparently a very important product of the Philippines. And in fact, the street Tayuman is actually derived from tayum. No? This is the street in Santa Cruz, very near, which goes very near the port of Manila. And the Tayuman was actually a place where a lot of the vats which contained the tayum dye was exported internationally. No, we lost that. So I think this is one other possibility for agribusiness that we can have in order to give countryside development. No, next, please. This is the dye, and Lorelei, the researcher, who was a tyro, he didn't know what was going on with regard to dyeing, finally has become by experimentation and research, we are able to go ahead and look at the concentration of the dye and so on and so forth. And she's actually coming out with notations regarding this so that we'll be able to go ahead and get the colorations properly depending upon the formula that she has. So this now is the scientific part, and the Mariano Marcos State University is doing some research, and hopefully they will be able to publish a paper on this for people who will be interested to go ahead and do the same small scale industry for countryside development to be guided. Next, please. So we now have the dyes, and the weavers are now doing, instead of polyester organic, or poly cotton, they call it, the poly cotton. Oh, by the way, the polyester that initially Lola Magdalena was using actually were refused coming from the factories, and these threads that they were using were coming from China. And I said, no, it cannot be. I think if we can produce cotton, we've got to do it, and this is going to be a high-end product that we can use in the world market, where there is now a big ecological consciousness in using organic fibers and organic dyes. So this is a beautiful fabric. This is called kusikus, and it's a cultural implication. If you take a look at this op art fabric that they have, now, can you imagine the mathematics that goes into the weaving of this by old women who were just doing this for a very long time? It's a long tradition. The reason why it's called kusikos is there's a belief that if you use this as a blanket and cover yourself with this particular blanket, and if there's an evil spirit that's hovering around you, these kusikos, which are whirlpools, will actually confuse the evil to get into your body. So this is a beautiful story that goes into it. Next, please. And these are other examples of the designs. And I understand that this particular design was preferred to be utilized as sails of the galleon during that particular period of time. A lot of them were, in the olden days, these were woven by people in Paway, Ilocos Norte, where the big church is located. Next, please. Yeah, this is another design. Next. Yes, and now they're experimenting with designs. We provide them with some ideas of designs, and these old ladies started to go ahead and interpret them. There are now weavers in Paway and in Sarat, in Ilocos Norte, that we are utilizing for weaving this organic fabric derived from pure cotton. It's very important. Pure cotton, not polyester cotton. Next. Now, these are the way that they were utilized in olden days. These were worn by old ladies in Ilocos. But these were apparently they were homemade, because in Ilocos during those olden times, every household had a weaving paraphernalia, and they were able to go ahead and weave their own clothes. Next slide, please. Next, please. That's another example, and this is a beautiful pants that were utilized, rayadillo, which was actually utilized during as a uniform of the revolutionaries. If you can recognize it. So I said, okay, now we have this cotton organic. And I said, okay, now we'll have to know how to be able to market them. So we can now go ahead, and I said, okay, let's use fashion. a fashion and translate and let this our very famous designers in the Philippines go ahead and interpret them. So I met with them, and we were able to, they got very, very interested because this is a product that they have not utilized before. And so we had a fashion show we called Algodon. Algodon is Spanish for cotton, And I engaged 5 designers very well known in Manila. This is Vic Barba, who comes out with this particular design. They are very sophisticated. Next, please. Look at this work by J.C. Guadi. You can practically imagine that this can be utilized by our women at this particular time. Next, please. For men also, look at these trousers, these shorts that are featured by these models. Next, please. Oh, it can also go for a swimwear, as done by Tonichi Nokum. Next, please. Oh, this is a jacket done by Randy Ortiz. We have a supply of some of this organic Inabel, and recently has been buying because I understood that from the fashion show, some people got interested in coming out with these particular jackets. Next slide. And the Pepito Albert came out with this beautiful, sophisticated gown, worn by our top model, Joan Bitancor, and in fact, there were a lot of orders already for Pepito Albert to come out with this particular product. So we are marketing. We utilized this particular fabric solely in this fashion show that we called Algodon. Of course, I invited a lot of people who are influencers with the public. So we had a full house, in our museum in Pinto. We converted a part of our museum to go ahead, come up with this fashion show, graced no less than the former First Lady Imelda Marcos, several congressmen, and some of the society people, honorary consuls, who are now starting to go ahead and utilize Inabel together with the other products, organic products in the Philippines. You realize that there's a lot of people who are now using tinalak, fabrics that are done in Lanao, and of course the products related to those which are coming out in Iloilo. So there's a very, very bright future for Philippine fabrics. I chose to work on Inabel solely because it has a cultural significance to where I come from, and I want to go ahead and preserve it. It gives me a lot of memory because my mom, when I was a kid, I remembered that she was engaging women in our household to go ahead and weave, So I said, well, this can be revived, Next, please. No, since we have a museum, of art, and I deal with Marina Cruz, utilize some of the fabrics as an inspiration for artwork, So these are artworks derived from Inabel. Next slide, please. This one's, and believe me, there's so much interest in it. Aside from the fact, of course, that Marina is a very good artist. She's actually having a show in Korea now. You realize that when we had this exhibit for art that are derived from designs from Inabel, the 12 pieces that he showed in our galleries, sold out in 45 minutes. So it was a design that was very well received by the public. Next slide, please. And during the algodon exhibit, a Japanese entrepreneur and fashion designer tried to combine Inabel with kimono, no? So, now it is, we have some orders already with these organic fibers, but from this particular lady, Isami. And she said that she's going to see if she will be able to market it in Tokyo. Next slide, please. Oh, these are iconic fashion designs made by our foremost fashion designer based in New York, Joe Sinatori, a good friend of mine. And look at this Inabel with embroidery. And by the way, the jacket, which was used by Maria Ressa when she received her Nobel Prize for Peace in Stockholm, was actually Inabel, which was done by Nina Corpus, who was one of the people that she got interested in Inabel, and from her work as a TV correspondent, she's now having another job by doing very, very stylish Inabel products solely, and she is now starting to have a very wide market with the designs that is coming out with. Next slide, please. And these are cushions. Josie said, okay, I gave her some samples of fabrics, and she said, okay, I'm going to promote this in my store in Manhattan, and I will first start with household products. So these are examples which she gifted me with. Next, please. Now, my worker, my associate in Pinto, just told me that these pieces, which are made in the flower arrangements with cotton, are now selling briskly in Dangwa, where people go to have their flower arrangements. So this is another use for it. Next slide, please. Now, so these are all organic dyes, and we have featured this into our Pinto Art Museum shop, and people are starting to buy. And by the way, before the pandemic started, and Hanelet, the wife, the partner of Rodrigo Duterte, said, okay, Doc, what we're going to do is we're going to establish an outlet in the international, in the airport in Manila. And we actually had a showcase there, but unfortunately, we couldn't move any further because the pandemic started. So we're starting to do this. The hobby people have these pop-up shows going on in Metro Manila, and some people are doing pop-up shows also in Inabel. There's a big interest of these organic dyes from my friends who live in San Sebastian in Spain, and this is something that they connect with because of the fact that these people were descendants of the sailors that came with the galleon trade. So it has a very, very long history. Next slide, please. So I thought of documenting this process that we went. I wrote a book called Algodon, so it's available in our shop. And I have given this book to a lot of people who matter in terms of in their interest with regard to fabrics, and to be utilized. And I was so elated by the fact that our congressman in Ilocos Norte, Angelo Barba, came during the Algodon Fashion Show, and he said, well, not only in Pinili, but I will go ahead and promote cotton farming in all the towns of the 2nd District of Ilocos Norte. Now, I understand that Philippine Fiber Development Authority is now established, textile textile processing centers of Inabel. No, not only in our place in Pinili, but they're doing it already even in Mindanao. And so there's a very good chance that this will prosper. Fibers in general, but for myself, the interest of Inabel because of the cultural value that it has. No? Next, please. Nina came out with these children's dresses, using Inabel, and they were a hit during one of the fashion shows, one of the 3 fashion shows that I already sponsored for this to promote this product. Now, next slide. So that's the end of my talk. So there's much to be done. My wish is from this little experience that I have in terms of which just started to be more or less an accident. I hope that this will inspire people to go ahead and make their own and continue to have cotton farming in the whole country and make this as a product that will prosper. And making them into organic fabrics is something that is very apropos with what is going on with the ethos, worldwide ethos of where we are now very conscious about ecology. We don't want fabrics that are manufactured in slave factories in other countries, and you know where. And so we want to go slow, but make the product really unique. We'll go high end, and that's the reason why I utilized the Society of Manila to go ahead and be examples for this. And I know that it will trickle down very slowly because they are very great influencers in making sure that people will now start to look for organic, farm-derived, organically colored fabrics that are healthier, they're even more beautiful, and at the same time, very trendy. Thank you very much. There's a lot of products that everyone can think about this, but it starts from cotton. And cotton in farms will certainly go ahead and enhance the development in the countryside. So I have turned a little bit of an agriculturist, but I'm happy doing it. It's always nice to go ahead and explore other things. But as I said, as a neurologist, this particular, I sort of, I like to go ahead and do countryside development because, after all, health is also determined by the level of the socioeconomic condition of the people. This is one, I think this is one small way and my small contribution to agribusiness in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Oven.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, at this moment, I'm in the Department of Agriculture's Private Sector Council looking at budget, and we want to follow the right budget. But I'd like to address this question to Dr. Hogan. You are young at heart, and actually the scientists like Dr. Rizal, they have revolutions. We need a revolution in agriculture. You're close to Duterte, I saw that. My question is this, no? I'm here right now, and our big quest right now is for people of MEP, ABCD, business background to influence agriculture, so they're more business-oriented. Now, you're in touch with Mr. Duterte. Your ideas, your concept, because according to our departed chair, we should not stop at forum, as our work is after forum, to try to transfer the light here to others. And I'd like to know this because we want to make an appointment with you at the highest levels. But if you already are connected, no need. Are you connected today to the top officials, to DA, so that you can give your insights on cotton? Are you connected?
Actually, yes. Actually, Joey Concepcion knows about this particular project. Now,
may I repeat my question because I have to go to a meeting soon. I want to connect you to the people with the money. Joey Concepcion is money, but it's not our government money. DA is our government money, 154 billion worth. And cotton, we find that here compared to other countries, we need backward. We need businessmen, revolutionaries like you to come in with the new ideas. Are your ideas right now understood well by the officials of the Department of Agriculture, the officials who have the power to give money. Are you connected now or not?
No.
No. Okay. Then I will close my statement. Today, I'm going to bring to the attention the fascinating revolutionary ideas of a revolutionary young Hoven doctor, and I will make that arrangement because we're very hungry for new technologies, which Vietnam and Thailand do, and we're kind of old-fashioned. Takes a revolutionary doctor like you, a genius like you, who ventures from curing people to preventing diseases of people by keeping them out of poverty. So thank you, Dr. Hoven. Thank you for coming. I'll now sign off. Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me. As you know, I always and talk at the end, but now I'm talking at the first because I have to go to this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Mm.
Thanks very much, Ernie. So Ernie unfortunately is unable to join us this morning for an extended period of time because of prior appointments. But in any case, so yeah, I know everyone's bursting at the series of questions. I already saw Vicky's eyes sparkling in her video earlier. So so yes, let's organize. So anyway, first of all, again, thank you so much for giving us your story, sharing with us your story. I find it very interesting that your friends in Spain and in Japan are very interested in fabrics because my friends in Spain and in Japan always ask me to bring them fabric from the Philippines. They love it. They love working with it. It's very beautiful. I have a friend from Japan coming in on May 12th, and she's already asked me to buy some fabric for her in advance. I should probably
Yeah,
go
tell them
visit.
to come over.
And
We
so,
have
yeah.
we have this organic dyes. We need some orders because with more orders, there will be more cotton and there will be more weavers. No, yeah.
Okay.
We have
Yeah,
those.
definitely.
We have a stock of our produce coming from the 2 tons that that the original 2 tons, and we need to, because the money will be plowed back to the village. No? And right now, I've been talking to the government, specifically our governor, Matthew Manotoc, who is very much interested in coming out with the Inabel Museum in Ilocos. No? And I said, well, no, let's do it, because if you travel to Thailand, then they, one of the important tourist sites that they bring you to is their silk. And if you go to Indonesia, they go ahead and take you to the batik. And in Luang Prabang, where I visited lately, their fabrics are being sold at the market and they're very nice. So why can't we do that in the Philippines? That's my point. And we're just doing it slowly, but we can make big so that our people will be engaged. I mean, rather than going out into the other country and going in as OFWs, and as a doctor, I find this the nurses that I talk to, I mean, and the experience that they have when they, especially if they go to certain areas in the country, they're not really treated properly. So I think it's very important that we give them opportunities to go ahead and come out. And I'm so very happy because I've been talking to Joey Concepcion, and I've been talking to a lot of people who have managed to come out with their own little agribusinesses, and they've been very, very successful. So as I said, my work here was just serendipity, and I enjoyed it because I'm into the promotion of arts and culture. And so if you realize, that's my point of view. And of course, being a doctor, involved in primary health care. So there.
Okay, sige. So well, it's almost 9 o'clock. So what I think we can do so that all of our questions just keep flowing is I think we can end our formal session. So I'm sure Bernie explained to you, Haven, that we have a formal session, we have an informal session. So the formal session is what we put online, and then the informal session is where we really get the discussion flowing. So I think we can do that now. So first of all, I'd like to present our certificate of appreciation to Dr. Hoven Kwanang. If we can share that, please.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation incorporated in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, together with our special partner institutions, senior partner institutions, corporate members, individual members, all of us here at ABCD present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Joven Quanam for his invaluable support in the advocacy and promotion of agribusiness and countryside development, and for his commendable and unselfish services rendered to this foundation as our resource speaker, given on our 13th weekly online meeting 2023, given this 18th day of April in Makati City, Philippines. Signed myself as chairman and Ernie Ordonez as our president. Okay.
Thank you.
If I may ask, thank you. If I may ask everyone to please turn on your video so that we can have a quick group photo, a group photo to show that we're here today with Yvette. Yes, please. Okay, so if I can ask Maki or Vian to count us in.
Okay po, we only have one page po. Tingnan lang po sa camera and smile. 1, 2, 3. Last na po. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very
Alright,
much, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the countryside development. Maraming
Don't,
Thank
but
you so
you'll
much.
stay with us pa, ha?
Yeah,
Up 10 o'clock.
we still have our informal
You
session.
want me to stay?
Yeah, we want
Nagpanik
you
kami
to
dalawa ni Bernie.
stay and join us.
Okay.
Okay. So for those of you who do have to go ahead, this ends our formal session. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. For those of you who do have to go ahead, let's just share briefly our topic for next week, because it's also a very interesting topic. So if you can join us next week for our next session, our 14th session, which I believe is on coconut oil. Can we just share the social media slide for that? Yeah, and so our session next week, the benefits and challenges of coconut oil, by Dr. Fabian Dairit of the National Academy of Science and Technology. So today we're talking about cotton. Next week we'll be talking about coconut oil. So once again, if you do need to go ahead, thank you so much for joining us this morning. But if you can stay for our informal session, please do so, because that's where the discussion gets really, really exciting. If you are joining us 2 weeks later through our social media, thank you very much for joining us. If you are interested in joining the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation as a member, do introduce yourself. Send us an email to register at map-abcdf.org and let us know so you can gain access to our wide network of agribusinesses and countryside development organizations. So thank you very much, and good morning.